What? Shouldn't I have... I should have picked this up before I started filming, right? But no. Why would I do that? That's logical. Hello! Welcome back. To myself, mostly, who I have been traveling. I'm not gonna, go into, a full day-by-day adventure of what I got up to, but I'll give you the highlights. I went to the UK for a 10-day trip. I was in England, visited Cornwall, mostly, biggest highlight. I went 2 years ago to Cornwall and London and was anxious to get back. And luckily, the stars aligned, everything worked out, and we were able to take, the whole family. Everybody loved it. We had an amazing time. The trip was great. I was really hopeful because, as you saw in that short video that I made right before we left, I was really hopeful that I was going to be able to go and visit a yarn producer or a fiber farm while we were out in Cornwall. And unfortunately, that didn't work out, but lots of other fun things happened. So let's break down the travel yarn haul, get caught up on what projects I'm working on, and just have a little crafty chit chat, yeah? Yeah, why not? Also, returning home and discovering that it's spring, finally. Chef's kiss. There's so many things blooming. I've been able to take a couple walks in the woods already, and that makes me really happy, just to see everything so green, the best color. Let's go in order of purchase. Oh, there's something else. I'm just gonna Johnny Depp run all over the house. Okay, so to start, London, when we were there for the first couple of days, we were visiting Salute, which is a one-day event that is surrounding wargaming, tabletop wargaming, and all of that nerdiness. Huge nerd, me, got to meet two of my favorite wargaming and miniatures content creators. I got to meet Peachy of Peachy Tips, previously on the painting phase. I felt really bad. I waylaid him as he was trying to sneak into the con, and I was like, hi, I'm a big fan. I love Sharp. And he was like, hi, who are you? No, he was very nice and polite, and it was lovely to say hey for the split second. And then later in the day, I got to meet up with Dave from MS Paints. If you know anything about me, you know I'm really big on accessibility for people who have all sorts of different needs, and Dave does some really amazing content surrounding him having MS and how he kind of adapts painting and crafting to suit his different physical needs. And also he's just an amazing filmmaker and makes really great content. But he had a Patreon meetup, so we got to go hang out outside for a little bit, got to meet Hector the frog, which, if there's crossover in my audience between wargaming and yarn, that would be hilarious. But anyways, had a really nerdy time in London, and we didn't go to any yarn shops during that part of our London visit. Then we got out to St. Ives. Now, I'd stayed in St. Ives, Cornwall before, 2 years ago, so I knew there was one yarn shop in town. It's called the Crafty Tree. Wait, is that what it's called? The Craft Tree. My bad. It's called the Craft Tree in St. Ives. It's cute and just this tiny little narrow store with an upstairs and the main floor, and it is just packed floor to ceiling with great stuff. Last time I was there, I bought some yarn that was dyed locally, not produced locally, but dyed locally, and I actually haven't done anything with it yet, but this time I had a weird dream and I got this wild idea that I should design and complete an entire project while I was there. So at the Craft Tree, I purchased a crochet hook, which I actually love. I don't have it in here with me. And I'm not going to go run and get it again. But I purchased 2 balls of Shoshinmar. I've always said Shoshinmar. If I'm wrong, don't yell at me. Katinia. The jet lag is still real, people. 2 of these 50-gram balls. These are a little bit lighter weight, 100% cotton than I usually work with. I usually work with Knit Picks Dishy, but this is really lovely. It has a nice sheen to it and was great to work with, and obviously we love to see it. Yes, sustainably produced, confidence in textiles, tested for harmful substances, blah, 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 all that good stuff. So I got 2 of these, and I bought a zipper and a crochet hook and some thread and some fabric to line a purse that I designed. And video magic, I worked on this thing over the next few days and had it almost done so many times. I lost count of how many times I ripped it out because it wasn't perfect. I made a pasty purse. And when you're traveling with family, multiple generations, multiple people, there are so many different opinions about how your project should look, which was actually really, really lovely because, sometimes when in your heart of hearts that something's not right and you can't quite say why, that was what kept happening with this project. And between my kids, my sister-in-law, and my husband, we got here. Not that all of them can crochet, but they told me what looked wrong, and we got here. And after having it almost done, first the sides were too big, then the braid wasn't quite right, the pastry crust, a bunch of different things. Finally, I finished this up yesterday. Look at her! So if you're not familiar, a pasty is a miner's meal, not like a child, like a person who mines. And this is one of Cornwall's many exports to the world. I'm a huge nerd for this because both sides of my family are some Cornish heritage in them, which is cool. But where we live right now is where a lot of my Cornish family settled, and it was a mining area. So really anywhere in the world where there was mining, Cornish people went. And anywhere Cornish people went, they brought pasty. So there's a small town near us where they serve pasty still. Being gluten-free, I can't eat it anymore. But going to Cornwall, they made gluten-free ones, so I maxed out on those, physically eating far too many. But they're a pastry with meat and veggies inside. There's tons of different fillings, but traditionally it's like steak, potatoes. My grandma used to make some that had turnips, potatoes, carrots, and steak in it. Doesn't matter. They're delicious. And there are so many different variations all over the world. And a lot of them come from the pasty, which is the food history you didn't know you were getting when you tuned into my YouTube today. But I lined it in Cornish plaid fabric. So this was also at Craft Tree. It's cotton and it's Cornish plaid. I did not know that Cornwall had its own plaid. I don't know the history or anything about it, but look at those colors. Obsessed. Really loving this color combo just in general. The mustard and this hot blue here. Love it. I got a yard of this fabric. I used obviously a very tiny amount here. So small, in fact, that I wanted to make sure I wasn't wasting any, and the selvages were quite big on the fabric. So I used part of the selvage here. I don't care. It's on the inside. This is lightly stuffed with yarn scraps and thread. And that is just a tiny bit because when you put more items in it, like a pen, obviously it gets more and more filling within it. I'm really happy with this. I have the notes for the pattern, and I was telling the owner of the craft tree that I was going to make this with this yarn. So I'm excited to send her the finished photos and email her my pattern notes, and who knows, maybe you'll see kits, pasty kits. No promises, but this pattern exists. I am likely going to be putting the notes version up onto Patreon for subscribers. So if you are a paid member on Patreon, you can look forward to getting the rough notes of this project in the next week or so. Fun, quick. It used a little more than one skein of this yarn. I was thinking, oh, I'm going to really try to just use one, but that's not how it worked out. So I still am debating if I want to add like a little wrist, like strap, like a wristlet, or just leave it kind of as its own pouch. Comments below, tell me what you think. So got all the supplies for that from Craftree, and then next I purchased, this is rare, I don't usually buy craft kits, but this one made me scream, so I felt like, you know, if you're screaming in a store, you probably should buy it. It's a little bunny with a little strawberry purse and a strawberry hat. I want this purse, like, for me, so we'll see. I haven't even opened it yet, but it's cotton. Lovely. It comes with everything to stuff it with the safety eyes and stuff like that too. But you need a crochet hook. So this I'm probably going to open maybe in a week or two and work on it. I'm not sure. I want to do it soon because it's like springtime strawberry vibes are very much in my feels right now. So focused most of my travel time once I purchased the yarn for the pasty. I was pretty dedicated to working on that over the course of the trip. I did do knitting on a pair of socks, which are finished, but were stolen by the intended recipient already. They are from the Wonderland Yarns Sparkle Sock. I'll put the yarn picture here. It's their sparkle base. It also has kind of like tweedy neps in it of like vibrant sprinkles like colors. Loved working with it. There's still quite a bit left. And on our flight home, I cast on a hat out of it, combined with the cesium yarns that I have that's in the darkish grayish color. Here, picture of that too. I was going to do a colorwork hat, and I was like, I'll just wing it. But your girl can't just wing color work, so I was getting way too mathy with that. So I set that down and just watched movies on our flight home. But that was really all the travel knitting. Finished a pair of socks, made a pasty, probably like 10 times over because I ripped it out so many times, and worked on a hat I probably will finish that hat. I'm looking at it in the other room. I'm not going to bring it in because it's like that much of the brim to show, and also I don't want to get up again. So there's that. But let's talk about the haul from London, because after my sadness of going back and forth with Blacker Yarns, who I was hopefully going to go visit, they were so into like having me out for a visit, but timing and travel and transport based on where we were staying to getting there just never was in my favor. That's what you get for me planning a last second thing, which was a bummer to me, but there's reason to go back now, right? Right, totally. So I didn't get to go visit Blacker Yarns. I was bummed out about that, but fate worked out in my favor in a different way. Something I thought I was going to end up missing doing in London was going to loop. And funny enough, I didn't have to miss out on it. And after trying to go to a couple different craft stores in other towns and yarn stores and being really disappointed, like, can I vent for a little bit here? Can I be a little rude? Britain is known for its wool. Why do y'all yarn stores kind of suck? That's Craftree, lovely. Loop, when I visited, lovely. Obsessed. Both were amazing and great and wonderful. No complaints. But I went to several other ones and walked by several other ones that were closed. Also, their hours, right? I had bad timing on a lot of places not being able to visit because of their hours, and we were doing other stuff, which is fine. But I was really underwhelmed at the amount and accessibility of British wool. Like, I feel like I can find places here in the States to purchase some of the brands I was looking to see their full, like their more full lines of, right? Because not every place is going to have every single color of a British or Scottish yarn. Whereas if I assumed, it was like, if they're closer to their home country, we're going to get more of those. Most of what I ran into was imported from Germany, which I get that that's closer. There was a lot of yarns that I can pretty easily access in the States, which I was kind of surprised by because, you know, I talked to crafty friends all over, and some of those lines I was like, oh, I didn't know that was purchasable here. And then there are some that aren't as available in the States but didn't have as much interest for me. That's fine. But I was genuinely shocked how hard it was to find regionally produced wools. And I'm like, I know these exist. Like, I know they exist. So maybe there's just not a strong relationship between regionally produced like fibers and local shops. Maybe it's a e-commerce thing, like where the regional producers are mostly selling online. I don't know. I was just genuinely kind of shocked because I feel like I can go to Chicago or Madison, and I know the Midwest is big in textiles in the US in general, but I feel like there's a bigger selection and a larger range of stores that have a deeper selection than I was running into in London, which is like one of the biggest cities in the world. And that kind of blew my mind. I didn't do a ton of pre-research. I know about Loop, and I've always wanted to go, so I was excited to go there. But I was genuinely disappointed to discover that most of the other stores, either based on their websites or walking by or stopping in, didn't have a ton of stuff. Now, there were stores that I wanted to go to that looked, based on online, like more of my vibe, but I wasn't able to do it based on timing. So if you're from the UK, I'd love to hear, what do you do for your local yarn shop? Like, what is that experience like? Because in the US, right, coming from somebody who once owned a local yarn shop, it's kind of the gathering point for crafters and artists, textile artists in the area. Like, we come to those places to be inspired, to share our work, to learn, and I don't know how much of that could go on based on what was being offered and sold in the shops that I saw. So I would love to hear about that. Tell me your thoughts in the comments, especially people who are based in the UK. I would love to hear, how do you find your local yarn shops? Like, what are your opinions on them? And what is your experience of being a local crafter near some of these shops? And how do you interact with them? Do you just go in when you need an item and you meet up with knitters and crocheters and crafters elsewhere? Or is there sort of a hub around these places that celebrates your local, like, or regional textile community? Because maybe I'm super spoiled, because a lot of the yarn shops that I go to and frequent, that's the thing, is they celebrate regional producers, local producers, and it's like this space where you can go and get to interact with these fibers that are produced in and around your area or imported and are special. Of course, there's lots that are like dyed on mass-produced bases, or I don't know. I'm kind of rambling, but I'm curious. I want to know. Let's talk about the Loop haul now, because that might be why you're here. Loop did not disappoint. It was our last full day of traveling, and I was mentally and physically exhausted. We took our kids with us on this trip. They did amazing. But I was recognizing that our journey into London for this last day, because we were staying outside of the city. Trains, it wasn't bad to get on the trains, but to go on the subway with them, it was really busy because it was a Saturday. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna be legit so angry if this yarn shop stinks. And I like went through all of this and made everyone else who was with me go through all of this to go there. But thank goodness it did not disappoint. Loop was lovely. The staff there was amazing. I got to chat with a couple of them about a couple different things, and they were so kind and so helpful. And even though it was a super busy Saturday, and that store is tiny, it's 2 floors again, it felt like you were still welcomed to like linger and look at things and ask questions and explore and experiment, and everybody had a lot of like knowledge and excitement to share, which is like more the vibe that I'm used to. Not that I need like staff to hold my hand or anything, but walking into a yarn store, it's happened anywhere, right? Like in the States, this has happened to me. It happened a couple different places in the UK, where you walk in and you're like, oh, this owner is just like, or this person is just tired of me being here, and they like just want you out. Like that can happen anywhere, right? That was not the vibe at Loop. So first and foremost, and importantly, in the swag world, I requested a reusable bag when I got rung up, and there's an overabundance of tote bags in the universe. I recognize this, but I'm really just very enamored with this one. It's a long, like, crossbody style, and I am planning to be using this throughout the summer and probably forever as just a really good, like, I can put a couple project bags in it and just carry it with. It's big. I can throw a water bottle in it too. Love it. Cute. Was happy to have it. And it was a more significant to me souvenir than just like a London magnet or something. So I love Jamieson's of Shetland Spindrift. It is one of my favorite yarns to work with. You may not know that because typically I design in cotton, but it is one of my favorite yarns to knit with. And the store nearest me that was carrying it no longer does. And when they were getting rid of it, you know, like getting rid of their inventory of it, I bought most of what they had left. And that was like 2 years ago. And I have not found a place near to me that sells it. And like, of course, Carolyn, you can go online and order it. Like, yes, but come on, like squeezing it and like laying the colors out and like looking at it in the sunlight, right? Like, that's what we want. I like, if I'm gonna do a craft that like takes time and effort, I want to physically interact with the things that I'm using. I don't know if that makes sense. I order yarn online too, but like, I was just super excited to go to the UK and hopefully find some place that had a really big selection of Spindrift, because I've been missing it, and the place that I used to go doesn't have it anymore. I'm like, sure, you can see it online, but I feel like their colors really aren't true at all online, so it's nice to see in person. So going in with no plan whatsoever, besides knowing what colors I had at home, I knew I wanted to get more Muget and Iskit. They were out of both. That's like a beigey, kind of whitish brownish that I use for a lot of my color work. Like when I'm making hats and stuff, it's usually my contrast color. Out of both. So that was a no-go. But I was like, you know, those are kind of like the most boringest. But I was able to pick up 2 more grass, which I've seen online and I've never seen in person. And oh my God, it's this perfect, sorry, I swear a bug just landed on me. Anyways, it's this perfect tonal heathered green with like flecks of brown and yellow in it. And come on, right? Like, obsessed. So I got 2 of those, which was all I had left. And my husband threw these into the basket. So my husband and kids know that when they select colors of Spindrift, like they can pick whatever colors they want for a main, and I'll usually just pair Muget or Iskit with it and make either colorworks like hats or mittens or things like that. So he picked these. He has two colorwork hats right now that are kind of like blues and teals, but he really, really liked these. No idea what we're gonna do with these, but I love it. This icy blue, so good. This made me think of Luna moths. It's called Apple, but it's kind of greenish. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. That's a theme here. I went with my heart. Usually I buy things with a plan for a project now, because we are in this year of stash busting. My exemption for Q2 is all this stuff that I purchased. So no other yarn besides this is coming into my household this quarter. So I was like, I want to buy things that just make me super happy and excited. So that's what I did. I went with happy and excited colors. I got this light blue. This one is China blue. I've been thinking about a specific colorwork project for this one. I was a little bummed they didn't have multiple colors, multiple skeins of it, but I think one will do it. So for this, I was thinking about doing kind of a, I know it's not the exact right blue, but kind of a blue willow type vibe colorwork hat pattern. We'll see. I have a couple different ideas, but I would love to see this with like a little baby floral that almost looks like a dish set. So we'll see. Maybe, maybe not. Honestly though, like these two together. What? Yes, perfect. And then this one is Willow, which is another colorway that the store that I used to buy it at never carried, and I was always very interested in. It's this grayish, sagey green, and I just adore it. I think it looks really good with my hair color. I've never had my colors done. Don't tell me I'm wrong. And then this one, just gutted that they only had one skein of it. This is Dewdrop. And it is a, come on, adjust. There we, please. It's this tonal blue-green, like it looks very sea glassy, just very oceanic and beachy. And then there's these kind of like electric navy pops in it. You can see one there. And I just love it. I was so bummed that they didn't have multiple of this one either. I was kind of like tearing up their Jameson section. I could have been there for hours. We were there for quite a while and everybody was very patient with me. But I was like, I can't. We were running out of room in our suitcase too. So I was like, I can't. The thing that I was most excited about Loop though is they do have regionally or domestically produced fibers that they put under their own label. And I had in my mind like what I wanted to get. I had one particular line that I was like, yeah, I would definitely want that. And I saw it and it was lovely and it was wonderful. I immediately was like, it's dead to me. When I saw these, I'm just going to show you this side first. Look at that halo. Can you see the fuzzy? Yes, you can. Look at that. Right? So this is St. Magnus DK. It's 50 Angora, 50 wool, and it's produced in Scotland on the Orkney Islands. So obviously screaming, crying, throwing up. And these two colors really struck me as just yummy and delicious together, like very mint chocolate chip vibes. But I have a design in mind for these, and I am so freaking excited about the design. But I have a secret project I'm working on that I can't work on that yet until I finish the secret project. So the Angora is going to go into like a scarflet, which we all know how popular those are right now. So the scarflet is going to have some colorwork elements to it. I know in my head what it's going to look like, but think like trinkets and treasures and springtime in the garden and antique mall knickknacks. It's gonna be knit, but it's gonna have that yummy like curio collection vibe. So stay tuned for that. Sorry, there are bugs everywhere in here. That is a chunky video update. There's been a lot going on, obviously. Big exciting news. Next week, I will be speaking at HH Americas. I don't know why I'm putting this at the end of the video, but I am so excited about that. I'm going to be speaking on the content creator marketing panel at the Content Creator Summit, which is happening on the 30th, next Tuesday. So amped. So excited about that. And just, I don't know, just really feeling good about the craft and art opportunities that are coming my way. I obviously, you know, have a day job that I do as well that's very fulfilling and wonderful, but I'm excited about what's been happening so far this year for CouleeCraft, and I'm really glad that all of you here in the community are going along with me on this journey, because it's going to be fun. There's some really cool stuff happening. So stay tuned, just like your favorite influencer says. I can't tell you now, but that's it. That's the update. I'm just so happy. I'm happy to be home, excited to design some stuff, and happy to be here with you. Be sure to join the Discord, subscribe on Patreon if you are interested in getting the notes version of this. So patterns that are untested go as notes versions, free for paying patrons. So that'll be coming in a week or two. And other than that, have an amazing time. Go soak in some sunshine. I hope the weather is nice where you're at. Stay crafty.